Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Homefront Harmony. I'm your host, Stevie Doll. This is the podcast made for military families, providing them the resources for well-being, mental health, and financial resources they need. I am excited. We talk about the military community, how tight it is, how everyone in the family is affected. And the guest we have on here today actually is the child of a veteran. So please help me welcome Good Life Chef Andrew. How are you, my friend?
Hi, Stevie.
Hi.
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it so much. So now you and I have something in common.
Yep.
Children and Navy vets. Go Navy. Love
Actually, Air Force.
Air
Force.
No, I'm just kidding. It's okay. We love all branches.
She's like, yeah.
We love all branches.
Cut.
You're good.
But my dad was born in Guam.
Oh, I lived in Guam.
Yep.
There we go. Love it.
My dad was born in Guam. We just talked about that. I just saw him last week at my niece's birthday. And yeah, just asked him a little bit. Because we never really talked about that part. I just know he's from Guam.
Okay.
But he grew up, they moved to Florida right after.
Okay.
And then my dad grew up in Virginia.
Okay.
For most of his life. However, I did ask him about how my grandfather became a U.S. citizen.
Okay.
And so my grandfather was in the Navy, retired Navy.
Oh, see, there's the Navy connection. Love it.
Yes, that's why he was in Guam.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was a crazy story because I was like, hey, so how did that all happen? And he said, well, he got tricked because his buddy was in line and they're standing in line in San Diego. And they're like, what's this line for? This is like 1940 something, 45. And long story short, he enlisted into the Navy there from his friends dragging him along.
See, always know what line you're standing in, people, okay? Always know what line you're standing in.
Thankful for his friend, though, I'll tell you the truth. Thankful for his friend because
awesome.
I love being an American citizen.
That's awesome. So from your grandfather's service, that's how your family, was he immigrated prior to him joining the service?
No. Oh, well, yes. Okay. He was, yes.
He was a U.S. citizen prior to him joining.
No, he wasn't. So he was immigrated here. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yes, no. Yes. Okay.
No, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So he was immigrated here.
Okay.
And then I think that's what it is. Let's call him. Phone a friend. Where's my dad?
Pop quiz hot shot. You got to answer some important questions.
So I am first generation born in the States.
Awesome. Okay. Very, very cool. It's fun because I did Ancestry on my family and my dad's family. I have us all the way back to the Revolutionary War in North Carolina, and I have to go there to look up records. Now I can't find it online. My mom's family was 2 generations back. I had them on the boat coming over from Ireland. So
that's neat.
Interesting to see the dynamic, how it changes with each family and the layout of it.
I love thinking about that too. I did an ancestry test too.
Yeah.
And just think about all the love stories and stuff like that.
It's crazy. It's some really of the stuff that goes along. Yeah, absolutely.
Did your family, one of you guys go in depth with following on the ancestry? Because one of my sisters does that.
So I was the one doing it, and then I stopped.
But you found out a lot of cool stuff?
Once I got to the point where they were like, hey, I got the Revolutionary War. I have all kinds of fascinating things on it. And we talk about military heritage and family. What I found through Ancestry.com was the military records for my grandfather and my papa, so my dad's family is Papa and Mama. My mom's family is Grandma, Grandpa. And so I found their records. I actually found records from where land was given for time served in the military to my family back in the day, in World War I, they were given land and stuff for their service. And that was amazing because it doesn't relate like that now. The way people contribute their service and everything, it doesn't really. I had a friend tell me the other day, he was talking about, well, military pays pretty well. And I said, well, it depends on the position you're in the military as to how well you're going to get paid. It's just
precisely.
It's such a different world to it. So your grandfather was Navy, Dad went into Air Force, and you became a chef.
Yep.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. But not just any chef. Let's see, you've trained with some of the best.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
let's name drop. Go ahead.
So my first job out here was at Springs Reserve under Wolfgang Puck.
Okay.
And that was, I worked under one of the culinary instructors that was a culinary instructor at my culinary school.
Okay.
Peter Sherlock. He opened that and it was a Wolfgang Puck Cafe. Amazing job. That's where I fell in love with making pizzas, because Wolfgang Puck is famous for making pizzas.
Okay.
We had this open line there, and they had a jazz band out there. It was just an overlooking the strip. It was a really cool job. And then from there, I transferred onto the strip, and that was when I had the first experience of a real like line cook job. If anyone's listening and they are familiar with Kitchen Confidentials, this was my first introduction to that style of kitchen.
Okay.
And I just see these people just hucking hot pans, and it's very hot in there. And I'm like, this is awesome. So this is where literally I learned how to cook, was at Emerald's restaurants.
Okay.
From there, what culinary school did for me, it was a very expensive way to skip the dish pit, because I still started at the bottom and I had to work my way up.
Okay.
So that work ethic I can attribute to my family. My dad had really great work ethic. I think he got that from his dad, military style. So working hard was just ingrained in me. So I just knew that if I wanted something, I've always had ambition and drive and grit.
Gotcha.
To do that. And then from Emerald Lagasse, then I had the opportunity of helping my friend give me a call. He was like, hey, Gordon Ramsay's coming to town. Gordon Ramsay was getting big around 2009, 2010 with Hell's Kitchen and Kitchen Nightmares, and he's coming to town, and we have an opportunity to open his restaurants, and I jumped on board on that with that.
Nice.
And so that was a great way to build my resume. So now I have 3 amazing Michelin star chefs under my belt. Well, actually, Emerald doesn't have a Michelin star, but he has really good cooking techniques, and that's where I attribute
really good cooking.
Yeah, that's where I attribute my style from.
Okay, gotcha. Now, how long was your father in service for?
He was only in service for 4 years, but he would talk very well about the Air Force. He ended up working for Lockheed Martin for 20 years.
Oh, okay. So stayed in the federal space in a different avenue. Gotcha.
He did, and then he worked for Gulfstream and Boeing right after that.
Okay.
And I knew my dad was home when it smelled like gasoline, because he worked in the fuel tanks. So
okay.
But that was cool, like growing up and going to the field trips, and they would have like open houses, and he'd be able to take us down there in Ontario to Lockheed Martin down there, and we get to go on the planes, and he would bring home like pictures of the B-2 bombers, and
fun.
Yeah, I grew up in that style, and his friends would, come over and give me toy planes, and I always thought that was awesome.
That's pretty cool. And it's funny because not everybody does do a life in service. There are some people, it works great for them. There are some other people that, their 4 years get them set up where they need to be to pursue whatever other avenue they need to go on it.
Yeah.
I love that you picked up on the work ethic and the drive. My father had a very strong one from his military service. It stuck with me. My mother had a strong one because her father had served at one point during World War II. So there are certain aspects we have of our work ethic and drive that we do things that are kind of just from that military world. My joke I always tell people is my dad would say, you jump and then you ask how high.
Yeah.
And normal scientific fact, once you jump, you can't change how high you're going to go. But in the military, you do.
Yeah.
So
I think that's, for sure. Like, you can't really, this doesn't really apply to the kitchen these days. You kind of have to be a little softer with these people now.
Oh, okay.
I think I was the last generation to go through that trauma.
Okay.
Hurt people.
Okay.
And that jump and ask how high thing is the same thing I say is like, think you may have another when you get a lashing,
There you go.
It's almost like they know what you want. Mm-hmm. You know what you want. You know how, if this means enough to you, then they'll pile more on your plate and,
Gotcha.
get it done.
Gotcha. Where did the passion from cooking come from? Did you cook when you were younger, or just it was something that always interested you?
I was terrible at cooking, but food was always around. My dad.
He's much better now.
Yes,
okay.
yeah. My dad was a great cook, and my mom's a great cook. But he always provided home cooked meals. He had, 5, 6 things up his sleeves that he made sure that he put in rotation.
Oh wow.
Filipino food.
Oh.
You know, I always wanted mashed potatoes and macaroni and cheese. Sometimes just throw that in once in a while, but never got that.
Just give me ponce and lumpia.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm your girl all day long. Ponce and lumpia every day, all day long. It was funny because when I grew up, my dad would grill all the time. He'd grill on the Weber. And so like we always had steaks or burgers or hot dogs or whatever because he was, and what a lot of people don't know is like when we were overseas, when we were in Australia at the commissary, which is the grocery store in layman's terms, we could actually get filet mignon.
Oh, what?
And lobster like cheap. So when we were overseas, we ate good. And then we came stateside and we got American prices and we quit eating like that.
We got the grilled steaks, hamburger, and hot dogs. We just had rice with ours.
There you go.
And then we had leftovers and a couple eggs in the morning with it.
There you go.
Typical Filipino breakfast.
There you go. I like it. Breakfast to champions.
But like cooking, it was almost a survival thing. You know, I was kind of knucklehead.
Okay.
I don't know, just like a lot of high school kids, but I needed some direction. And I just thought, you know, hey, I was watching you know what it was? It was Top Chef season 2.
Okay.
I was like, okay, I watched Top Chef season 1.
Okay.
I was like, Top Chef season 2. I was like, this is pretty cool. But then I was like, hey, if I choose a career in food, I'll never starve. So I'll always be around food. And I was like, yeah, this is a smart move. I'm going to go into this.
There you go.
It was almost survival.
I have a rule. I don't really trust skinny chefs. If you don't eat your own food, I'm a little worried about you.
Yeah.
Gotta have a little bit of something there.
Hey, the fit chef is a new thing, guys. You know, and it's a joke though. But like, honestly, it really is important though. I think to have, because the mental health. If we want to talk about mental health, chefs have very, very bad mental health. Long, grueling hours. You know, they're taking lashings. They're just piling on work on themselves. They're sacrificing their marriages, their family time, for their craft, for their art. And it's a thankless job sometimes. And people don't understand how much goes into these plates and these fine dining experiences. And if you want to do it over and over and over again, you have to spend so many hours in the kitchen and long nights. And the typical night is, you know, it ends with boozing. And then you wake up hungover and you do it again. And I fell into that. And I could just see that. I could see why a lot of chefs were traumatic when I was coming up and how I ended up turning into that person is because we weren't taking care of ourselves. We're just boozing during the day, boozing during work. Then we get off work, start boozing again, and then try to sneak in some, you know, sleep and you're not getting enough. And you're not eating. People think that you're a chef, you're eating. Right. You're like, not really, you're probably eating some fast food at the end of the day. And so the combination and the culmination of all those bad choices turns you into a jerk and a person that has very, very, very poor mental health Well, we mental health is a huge thing to talk about. And this actually helps me, my little segue we want to do here. Because I said to you, we're talking about the military community. I told you we're talking about how close we are and where we align. So not only is he the son of a veteran and the grandson of a veteran, go Navy, but he also knows our friend, Omar Foster. Yes.
And Omar and Abby and Abby's dad even came on. Yeah. We've had an episode with each of them to get to talk about it because I love the approach that Omar has to that mental health to help people through fitness.
Oh, no doubt.
Work through that. Now you know them.
Oh yeah, I learned it from him.
You're buddies with them. So yes, how did you connect with Omar?
So the CrossFit community. Okay. I followed Omar before we were good friends. I followed Omar from afar, and he was just always pushing the envelope with his business. And before I was a business owner, I was like, this guy is fearless. He is doing cool things in the community. He is just a very fun and energetic person from the outside. So about 2015, I was living this very unhealthy life, and something had to change around when I was 28 years old. I around my birthday, I was walking around the kitchen with my pants unbuttoned because I couldn't fit in them. And I was slugging around and just being like a slob. And I was like, this is something I should change. And then I ended up walking into this, I knew I needed to do like a group type fitness. I didn't necessarily wasn't chasing CrossFit. I just walked into this CrossFit gym and they're slamming barbells and they're listening to Taking Back Sunday, which is an emo band I like. And I was like, okay, this is cool. I want to try this.
Okay.
And I knew that if I paid for something like this, I'll be held accountable and there'll be people here and then there'll be no backing out of this instead of just wandering around a Globo gym and just kind of just guessing what I'm doing. So then that's when I started doing CrossFit. And then that's when I saw Omar around the community and that's where I met him. And from CrossFit is when I learned all the good habits that are just like almost mainstream nowadays. Those things were being talked about back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I love is, and I know you've actually interacted with it as well, is he has quite a group of veterans in there that have found that sanctity, that safe zone, that area for the fitness for their mental health as well. And showing how it encompasses more. Now, what I imagine the journey from that is what took you to your company today.
Yeah, correct.
So how did that path go? Was it just all of a sudden, okay, I'm going to be healthy, I need to do a healthy company? Or was it working on yourself a little longer before you got to that point?
Precisely, working on myself.
Okay.
Personal development was starting to become a thing. Being motivated, inspired by, because CrossFit, it's a specialty gym. So the people in there, you could be working out with alongside high quality people, top producers in their field. You know, you could be working out next to a doctor, a lawyer, business owners, students as well. Just high quality people that really care about their themselves. So just being around them and learning from them, and then just picking up on the things that they do is like, okay, how are they like that? Why are they so happy? How come they have so much joy? Why are they so successful? What are they doing? Let me add 1, 2, 3 things at a time. It's exactly what Omar talks about, habit stacking. These guys, if being around them just made me want to be that type of person. So then I'm starting personal development. And then in 2019, I was fired from my job.
Okay.
I was still a healthy person, but I was also a alcoholic healthy person. And it was a very toxic environment.
Yes.
I was being groomed to be kind of a jerk, and that's when I got fired from. Long story short, I got fired from my job.
Okay.
And I was so bummed out. But if I wasn't going through this personal development stages for the last 2 or 3 years, I would have just went down that spiral of went down the bottle and just went crazy that way. I thank God every day that
it worked out that way. That's it. And why I like this is because this aligns very well. When we have service members transitioning out of service, going into a new life, discovering, we had a guest on not that long ago, Alex was talking about even being a veteran. Well, he's not a veteran yet. He's still an active duty service member, but considering the transition and everything, his passion's been photography.
Yeah.
And he found ways to get that in the military. And now he's reworking his path as he's going to end up in the civilian world. Sometimes when we step out of one life into another one, the drop off is a little steeper than we expected.
Yeah.
And the path we go on is maybe not the best path for us to go on, but be able to step back, realign, find a connection like you did through the gym, through the food, however to do it, I think is a huge thing, because you always have the opportunity to reinvent yourself.
No doubt.
It's just whether you choose to reinvent yourself or not. It's not changing who you are. It's adding to the resume is all you're doing. And anyone can do that. So now with your business that you have now, you do meal prep?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I got fired from the job, I was bummed out for about 16 hours. And that was
16 hours.
That was a really hard conversation to have with my wife, because we built this standard of living, and they don't just hand out those jobs. Right. And then I woke up and I was really bummed out, because all I knew was I was a chef, and now I'm not a chef. Who am I? And then I realized, no, dude, like They took away the jacket and the position from you, but they didn't take away your skills and your knowledge and your personality and your experience and you. They didn't take you away. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's true. And if I could work that hard and work 15, 16-hour days for 30 days in a row for someone else and make money for multi-million-dollar restaurants, mm-hmm. I can surely do it for a $20,000, $40,000 business if I built it up that way. So I reverse engineered how much I really needed to make to just break even, pay my bills.
Gotcha.
Just pay my bills. And then I was like, hey, I think I'm going to do this. I told my wife, I was like, I'm not going back. I think I'm going to do this. And that's how I started in the gym. And that's how we market it to this day. It's kind of like I just worked out with these people. We suffer together. And eventually they're going to ask me what I do. And I'm going to tell them I do meal prep and I'm a chef and I worked under these people. And then they're going to follow me. And then eventually they're going to say, oh, okay, I already do meal prep. So I'm going to purchase off you. So
there you go.
Building relationships is just how we've been doing that. And I like what you said about reinventing yourself though, because people get stuck on that notion that this is who I am. They tell themselves that story. And mm-hmm. Omar and I talk about this all the time. And he really encourages all of us in the gym to be like, hey, what? And it even means like, what's stopping you? If you want to be that person, just be that person.
Right.
What's stopping you? Tomorrow, today, like who cares? People are going to judge you anyway. Mm-hmm. I think people get fixated on this is just who I am. This is where I'm from. If people see me, I'm live in Vegas now, but I'm from Arkansas and they see who I am now, it's like, well, yeah, you're not supposed to stay the same. You're supposed to create yourself and recreate yourself.
Yeah, you do. You grow as you go on. But one of the most real statements I ever heard in my life was when I was told that you are your own harshest critic. No one will break you down as hard as you will break yourself down. And it's true. Yeah. We look to see what's weak in us, what's a problem in us, when we don't do something right, when we don't go to that area. I think that is one of the things that is hardest, like with military families. If your parent is an upper echelon service member themselves, the weight you carry on your shoulders is their child of what you're going to deliver and bring out. Or if you are the spouse, how you're representing your service member on it. It's something that we naturally do. But I think that having those avenues that you can explore, fitness is one we come to a lot with the military because it's a common thing. A lot of military families get into the fitness and it just works for them service members because they're trained with it. Yeah. Yep. You know, my mom, my goodness, that woman worked out when I was a kid, like Model S lady there and, you know, just did. And it was just part of her regime because she was representing. She was part of the package deal with my father. It was her at his side. But the other part was she did it because she enjoyed it. She liked how she looked. She liked how she felt. Yeah. Aspect to it. But every avenue like that, there's a dance we do with ourselves when we talk into it. Starting a business, when we talked to Abby about when Omar was going to, was talking about starting the gym, she said she was so used to the talk. The people in this town will talk. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I want to be this. I want to be that. He was already doing.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the key in it. Talk is talk. Talk is cheap. Action is what makes it happen.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So when you go this route, you're going to do the meal prep.
Yeah.
You got some connections, your avenue you're going to go. And did it get running at the speed you expected right out the gate? Did it take a little longer to get that going? Yeah, because I'm till this day, I'm not scared to fail. I'll fail faster than everybody. Okay. So when you're still thinking about what you're going to do, I already failed 5 times to figure that out. Okay. So you're right, that people just get paralysis of analysis when they're trying to figure and they just talk themselves out of it. When you get that fire and drive, when you get that spark, that's when you have to strike. That it's going to fade away. I believe that people need to do more. They need to stop reading about doing more. We don't learn how to swim by reading about water. Right. We got to stop. We just have to do more and fail faster. I believe that people are talking themselves out of their true calling for what they are really, truly called to do. I've been really thinking about this a lot and encouraging my entrepreneur friends and my friends that are just talking about, hey, I have this idea. I look up to you
I look up to these type of people because you guys just go and do. I go, it's what we're made to do. We are made in God's creation. God created us. He found joy in creating us. So if those two statements are true, that God created us and God loved creating us and created us in his image, then he finds joy in us when we are creating. So we are made to create. So that's why we find so much joy when we're creating, like when we're doing this podcast, when you have these new ideas, and when I come up with a new recipe and a new dish and a new marketing plan. Like anytime that you guys are finding yourself in a funk, anytime you're finding yourself anxious and worried, start creating, start doing something. That's why journaling is so big. That's why people talk about, just executing, taking action, is because we were made to create in this world, and we're working with collaboration with God to transform this world into a better place.
Well, and here's one thing that I will say that's huge is I know a lot of like military spouses have dreams and goals and visions and things they want to do and accomplish. And a lot of times they pull them into the back burner because you're supporting your spouse.
Yep.
But you can still do it. It is still a viable option for you. I am part of a lot of different groups through my job at my company, et cetera, where the whole goal is to help military spouses have their opportunity to have their career, have their opportunity to have their dream come true, to be able to do what they want to do. And if you talk to most service members, they're so appreciative of their spouse's support, but they want them to be able to accomplish things as well.
Yeah.
It's that's that twofold, that battle on it. Now, as a kid, I was raised that whatever you want to do, you can do. It doesn't matter what the dream is. It doesn't matter what the passion is. If you want to do it, do it. But you got to put everything into it. You got to 110%, give it all you got, kind of thing to it. And I think that that's one of the parts that gets intimidating to everybody, is that, oh my gosh, what if I fall and I fail? But when you look at some of the most successful people over time, what they talk about, they say is that I failed so many times. That's the only way I was able to be successful is because I had these so-called failures. You fall down, you get up, you dust yourself off, you learn a lesson from what went wrong there, and you move it forward in a different way.
Yeah, you're going to fail, but it's still going to feel like a win, because there's always going to be a positive reaction to that positive action you took. Whether you see it immediately or down the line, it's just law. It's going to come around, and the more you put out into the world positively, you're going to receive back. I believe that. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, it's like when my father left 21 years in the Navy, and he had all these ideas of things he wanted to do. The man had ideas all the time, and entrepreneur, and he would try things, and he would pursue things, and he would see where it goes and see where it lays out. And it took a bit from when he got out of service to where he got into a groove that he found that he was comfortable with where he was at. And I feel like that is such an important conversation to have, that, okay, maybe you try something and it doesn't turn out the way you wanted it to. It's okay. Doesn't have to. I have had so many careers in my life. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
But you know what? Everyone I enjoyed for a specific reason.
Yeah.
Of what I did
That's
in it.
important.
Yeah. It was, so you got to be able to say, hey, you know what? I'm doing this because I like it.
There you go. That's what I was going to say. What are you doing this for? Because you want to be filthy rich, or you want to do this because it's going to bring you joy in life and make you on fire to get up in the morning and go do something? Because right now, a lot of times right now, people are kind of just living this life where they just feel like they're just kind of going through the motions, and there's no spark and there's no life. But hey, you don't have to, you see all these highlight reels, and people are getting discouraged because they just see the highlight reel of how many meals I've been doing, but they didn't see like
what it took to get there.
Took there. Like my wife in the dish pit after she's just did 12 hours of school, and they didn't see me waking up at 3 a.m. They didn't see all that, but you know what they do see is me enjoying the process. I think if you can take anything out of it, if you look at what Coach Omar's doing at Social City and other entrepreneurs around town, is that they're enjoying what they're doing, and you don't have to blow up right away. But if you find that spark, go do something. Just take action on one little thing. Next day, take action on the next thing.
You know what? That so reminds me. We had an episode and we had Felicia Rexford on.
Oh, yeah,
and
she's great.
We were talking about how she got moved from her military career and ended up into the real estate world.
Yeah.
And it's such a fascinating story because it just so happened this opportunity came up. Well, okay. Give it a shot. See what happens. Might work, might not. Don't know. But it ended up evolving into getting her a whole nother passion she didn't even realize she had.
Yeah, because she probably got stoked. She was like, "Oh, I kind of like this.
It was
makes me
funny,
feel alive.
yeah. She
This
was
makes me
talking
feel alive."
about how it was just a random opportunity, and they thought, "Well, what the heck?
Yeah.
Let's give it a shot and go for it." And I think that we joke because we're based out of Vegas, Sin City, gambling, all that crap. But sometimes life is a gamble that you're playing. You got to be willing to make the bet.
Yeah, on yourself.
Go for it and see what will happen. This isn't because I'm so great, whatever. This is living on a legacy. This is something my dad started. I'm continuing it on in my way to do it. I have a normal job that I do. I love that job that I do. I love the people I work with and what I do, but I am passionate about this. So everything from that is pushing this for me. So eventually this can be my world. Do I expect to be filthy rich? People, come on. My husband's a real estate broker.
Let's go. All right.
I married well.
That's right. But what makes you feel alive in the morning? What makes you want to, that's what I think the whole goal is. Like, I don't ever want people to look at my business and be like, oh, he's only doing it for money. It's just like, no, I give all glory to God. People are like, you must be proud of yourself. I'm like, no, I'm not really. I'm really grateful that I have the opportunity to do it every day. I am grateful that I can get up every day and have the energy and the courage to do it every day and the strength to do it. I'm grateful that there are people that see my vision and want to help me execute the vision. I am grateful that God places people in my life that will buy my services and enjoy my services. I'm grateful for the talents that he provides me. All that stuff I'm grateful for. Proud? Not really. I'm just so grateful that I get to do this. Like, this is it's a good life.
It's great because I think we get tunnel vision is what we get. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is how I'm supposed to go. That's why it throws a lot of service members off when they transition out.
Oh,
because the world has been this.
So
this was
structured.
everything they were. This is where and now, boom, you're just not that anymore. Now, you still are. It's just not the same level it was before. And you can take what you took from that to grow into this new dream that you have, this new avenue you have, this new life you have. And it amazes me how many families I've seen where it ends up being a family business, where it was something that the spouse and the service member always wanted to do and have or be. And so they work together and grow it. And I think that's fabulous because I don't do real estate, okay? But my husband can talk to me about anything and I can kind of walk through it from a different point of view. He does the same thing for me with my world of security because it's an outside perspective of how to do things.
That's beautiful.
The hardest part of my job is not terrifying people, okay? I'm supposed to train you on security and help protect you without terrifying you that something bad's going to happen or you might get hurt. And it is a very razor edge line that you walk when you do it. And so I have the advantage of having a husband in a completely different career where I can say to him, if I were to say to you, whatever, how would it, and sometimes he'll be like, oh no, that makes sense. That's really cool. And other times he's like, oh, good night. Okay. I don't know if I'd say it that way, but you need that. You need to have that sounding board to talk to.
Having that support. And that's what I think military families have a great advantage. Yeah. As far as getting a business off the ground is because they have that family unit. And what they have that a lot of people don't have is the discipline and it doesn't have to be structured, right? So they come from the structured world, and entrepreneurship is not structured. But what you do need in entrepreneurship is discipline, and that's what they have. So if they can break that barrier of like, oh man, I need it to be so structured and this and that. It's like, okay, you can, but let's remove that for a second, but take your discipline and say, hey, this is an appointment for myself. I promised myself I'm going to do X, Y, Z. I'm not going to back out of it because this is an order I gave myself. And look at it that way. And if that is something that resonates with people, I encourage you to just use that. Like you wouldn't go to, if you had an appointment or if your sergeant or your captain gave you an order, there's no backing out of it. You would 100% execute that task. So give yourself the order, hold yourself accountable, and then have your spouses hold yourself accountable and use that support.
It's a big thing when you are setting goals and streamlining things. You want to make sure that you're breaking down. You're giving yourself timetables. You're giving yourself deadlines. You're celebrating the little victories that happen. We talk about big 3 things a lot in this podcast. The discipline and drive is a big one that we come back to consistently. Whether you are the one who served or like as the child of one who served, I have a very definitive one from what my father ingrained in me. But mentorship is huge.
Yeah.
Can never stop talking about mentorship. I don't think there is any place in life where mentorship is not a huge thing that we need to have. It is always so helpful to have someone guide and mentor you. We just had a guest on, Rob Novotny was talking about the fact that when he transitioned out of service, he didn't have a mentor at the time. And now looking back, that would have been a really good plan to have a mentor to help him through it, you know, and he was like, so he tries to mentor others to help them not run into that.
Yeah.
And then my number, you know, I'm going to talk about all the time, the community, the military community. It amazes me to this day when people find out that my dad served. I didn't serve. My father served, but I have instant family, no matter the branch, no matter the area of people because of that military connection. That's huge. And I don't think that people understand, especially like in Vegas, we're a small town. Everything's Vegas is huge. It's actually quite small. Like you'd be amazed how many people know each other in this town because of how small it is.
You just mentioned 3 people in that conversation. I was like, okay, yeah, I know those people.
Yeah, right. And then you add the military connection to it, and then it's a whole nother level up to it. And I think community is so key, especially when we talk about mental health.
Yeah.
And if you want to merge those two together, mentoring others, maybe you got through your mental health issue, so give to your community by mentoring others who are going through something. That's
perfect. Perfectly said. Have you ever heard of 33, the rule of 33? So the rule of 33 is having exactly what you're saying. 33% of your community is people that you want to bring up. So you're the mentor. And then 33% are your peers, people that you're around, that you're on the same level with, your business partners, whoever. And then 33% are people that you want to aspire to be, or people that are mentoring you. And you're surrounding yourselves with 3 different groups so you can be a person in each of those groups. And then that leaves you, the 1%.
Yeah. I love it. It's so interesting. So I do a lot of different things. I'm on a national board, and I am their seminar chair this year. And I keep trying to do more, to help more, to take on more on my plate. And several of my friends are on the board, and I love them because they're so candid, and they call me out and they'll be like, dude, do you realize everything you're doing right now? Like, step and take a breath for a minute. Like, it's okay. Like, you've got, and I'm like, nah, I'm fine. I got this. I'm doing. And I think sometimes we do that to ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't realize how many plates we're spinning.
Yeah.
Until it becomes too many or one drops. And then we're like, oh, panic, you know?
Yeah. So you need that mentor to be like, I've been there, man.
Yeah. You need people to be able to tell, yeah, I get where you're coming from. I get what you're doing. Yeah. But maybe if you went this route.
Yeah.
You know, I use a lot of different references. I work a lot with my job with career for military spouses, for service members transitioning out of active duty, for veterans. And we talk about using the SMART is the guideline that you set up. So it talks about how to set goals for yourself and how to get yourself. And one of the first things S is for is specific. Be specific on what your goals are.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of
100.
times we have these high level goals. Would I love Homefront Harmony to grow to be this huge business where I actually could employ veterans and military spouses and do all this stuff? Oh, would love that. But that's not going to happen in a week. So I need to be more specific about where the goals were. So what we're starting with the podcast.
Yeah.
Now we've got a website that's getting ready to launch. We're going to be able to put more resources into, and now we're going to go, so you got to give yourself those stepping stones.
Those little milestones.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they see, for instance, the highlight reels, right? And they go, and I get a lot of people like, man, I really want to do meal prep too. I'm like, you could do it. And they go, yeah, I just don't want to do it out of my house. I'm like, you have to go through that little step, because if it's very important that I went through all those steps from 50 meals to thousands of meals, because I would never have known how to execute at that scale if I didn't learn and fumble along the way. So really, if you're wishing to just be this type of person, it won't happen because you won't know how to execute that. And then you're going to waste a bunch of money, and then you're going to fail. Like fail too big where it's out of control, and you won't be able to get yourself back out of it.
Right.
So if you set those little milestones, like you said, like this is awesome, like the podcast, and there's going to be another one that's going to take you to that next level, or eventually you're going to do that.
It's okay if something doesn't work out the way you thought it would. There is going to be stuff that goes wrong. Please know that. There's always going to be something that's going to go wrong. There's going to be an obstacle, whatever. It's how you react to it.
Yeah.
That's how you win the battle.
No doubt.
And maybe what you thought was the path that you needed to go turns out, that's not working out the way we thought it would. Maybe we need to realign.
Yeah.
On it to take it back in that area. I mean, when I first started working with Robert, we were in the cute little studio. Now we're in the fancy studio. We just keep evolving and growing. And it's been a natural progression as it's grown and where it's gone at. And I absolutely have loved watching them grow in their aspect, let alone what we could do with the podcast with it, So that is very, very cool. Now, do you work like 24/7?
No, I did. I mean, I introduced myself as a head dishwasher for years because people would ask me, "Hey, what do you do?" I'm like, "I'm a head dishwasher." Okay. For this company that I own.
That I own.
So wearing all, when you start a business, you're wearing all the hats: marketing, accounting. You're doing the dishes in my field. Prep work, cooking, cleaning, ordering, all of it. Now we have a staff of about 16. We have 16 people on payroll, and then we have 2 managers. I have an event coordinator. Shout out Alicia. Shout out Alicia. She's so smart and brilliant. She ran Wynn Banquet Hotels, and we recently started working together, and she's taking Good Life to a whole new level.
I love it.
We just promoted a kitchen manager. Oh. So now we have these 2 lead positions there where they can execute the vision, and I support them with staff. I support them with their other resources that they need, and I'm there to support them succeed, and I empower them to take Good Life to any level they want and be creative that way. I think that's very important. Now I'm there. I mean, I work 7 days a week, but I have the opportunity to carve my day out. I can work from home. I can go in the office for a few hours. But I am in that stage of time harvesting now, where I like to call that, is where I get to, harvest some of that time back where I was sacrificing the first 5 years. We're in year 7. Actually, by the time this comes out, so June 1st was June 1st, 2019 was the
launch.
The launch. Yep.
Okay.
The first week of orders, and now we're going into our 7th year. Or 6th year, and going to be more grateful for all the opportunities we've had.
That's wonderful. When we talked to Alex, one of the things he was talking about was how his schedule adjustments were part of the consideration because he has a young baby and they have a new one on the way, and being home to be able to be with the kids, to see them, to know them, was a huge thing for him in his career. And we were ridiculously blessed when I was a kid, because my dad was in the Navy and he did go out to sea, but he did not go out to sea as much as some of my friends' fathers went out to sea. So I was really lucky to have him there.
That's cool.
But he did have time. He did serve, and he was out at sea, and it is a different world to live in. And so my family's really tight knit, guys. Okay. It was always just the four of us. It was dad, mom, me, and Amy. My whole life. My sister is one of my best friends in this world, hands down, without question, because it's always been there. She's always been there. And so I was always very tight with my parents. But because of my father's service in the Navy, I understood there'd be a point when we weren't all living next door to each other and we weren't near each other. And it helped me as I grew as an adult. And I feel helped me as I grow in my career and as I make decisions to move forward, because I had that freedom that, hey, they're always going to be there to come, back. Now, granted, daddy's gone, but I still got Amy and mom there. I still have everything he taught me there. I still use it every day of my life in every decision that I make. The foundation that they prepared for me to be able to go out and be an adult in was phenomenal, and it was the blessing of the military service that we got from that, because we only had the four of us. Yeah. We had family back in the States, but most of the time we were overseas. So it was just us.
So you value time with your family. You value, and I totally agree with that. I think a lot of people that are watching this resonate with that. They don't want to be stinky, filthy rich and the goal is not Lambos and mansions and all that stuff. They just want to be able to spend more time with their family. And entrepreneurship can get you there. And I think that's where I am, and that's where I am right now in my life. I was really struggling with the hustle mentality with the business. Okay. God was blessing this business and working in it, and we're just really taking off. About 2 or 3 years ago, things were really, really starting to pick up, and I was like surrounded by all these business entrepreneurs, and I'm watching all these highlight reels of all these entrepreneurs about hustle culture, and you got to get more and more and more and more and more. I'm like, God, I don't want that. I'm stressing me out right now. I'm like, God, I don't want to live like this. What is this? But I do know you want my business to be successful. I do know that. What is it then? And I get a verse of the day that pops on my phone from the Bible app. And that week, when I was very intentionally praying about this situation, the verse of the day came up. It was Luke 12:15. And Luke 12:15 says, it's Jesus talking, and he's saying to the disciples, be on guard of all sorts of greed. Life is not about abundance and possessions. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. That's kind of what I was thinking. And then I go to the life application part of Luke 12:15 at the bottom of the Bible, and it literally says word for word. I get chills thinking about this. Word for word, the first sentence of Luke 12:15 life application, it says, the good life is not about being wealthy. And I shut the Bible. I said, I get it. I totally get it. This is not where I'm supposed to go. And it was affirmation of like, all right, then what is it then? So what my whole goal is to help people, employ more people, take less of the pie, give more to employees, give more to my church, and donate more, and be philanthropy at the very forefront of my business. And I just find it makes me work harder. It gives me purpose. And I just love that part of it is being able to spend time with my family. And like, although I'm taking less of a cut, I don't need it, because I have enough. Right. I value my time. Time is more valuable resource than money to me.
Well, and that's, you talked about one of the key things there for me is the hustle mentality that we live in, the life, the go, the get. Yeah. My sister sent me this meme that cracked me up where it said, what gives you anxiety? And the answer was me. I give me anxiety, kind of thing. And we do it to ourselves to where we push it. So yeah, completely understand that. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for coming on our show and being a part of us Stevie. Today. Now, nice. Please plug your business.
Yes. We are the Good Life Chef. If you are interested in any type of prepared meals, we offer an eclectic menu that are healthy, nutritious, but most importantly, delicious. All of our meals are $10.99. You heard it. $10.99 for 6 to 7 ounces of protein in each box. So if you're struggling to eat healthy, you're missing this one key important step. Order from our website, goodlifechef.com, goodlifechef.com, goodlifechef.com.
There you go. We allowed the plug time to it. Guys, we are at that point of the show where we get to. So if you have a dream and you have an idea and something you want to do, I want you to take today's episode as the word for you to think about it and step up and give it a shot. Okay? You know what to do. I need you to like, share, follow, subscribe. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn. Find us, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. I'm going to see you next time. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Covered now with lines increasing, tickets torn in half.